Hey everybody, how is it going? It is RambleCast time. This is November 8th, 2023. I'm Cody Toombs. And with me I have a Corbin Davenport.
Hello.
So, fun fact. This is like the least newsy news week we could have imagined. Honestly, like this is feeling like Black Friday week, except it's very specifically not Black Friday week, except of course you would never be able to convince any store of that because they've all started doing their Black Friday deals.
Yes. And if you say Black Friday again, I will leave. I'm
Oh,
already done. I'm already done. You know how many fucking emails I got this week? That's like, guys, check out the deals we're going to do on Black Friday and also the deals we're doing now on pre Black Friday. Um, and my favorite part was there's now a really cool. I just noticed my light like isn't on all the way. That's weird. It's also white, so it's making me look more white.
uh-oh.
Yeah, I can't have that. Already too white. Anyway, there's a fun thing where you know how in like physical retail stores, right? You at this time of year, you very rapidly go through like the store decorations and like what sections are there. So like, you have your Halloween stuff, and then like starting like probably a couple of days like before Halloween itself, like all that stuff gets cycled out, but there's still a little bit of it left, and then it goes into Christmas mode. That's been my email inbox for the past like 2 weeks, where it was first, Amazon had their whatever Prime Day something in I think October. So my email went from pre-Prime Day to Prime Day deals to Prime Day deals that are still ongoing or post Prime Day deals, and then slowly transitioning into pre Black Friday deals, and now just Black Friday deals. So that's been fun. Basically, it's any time of the year now is pre or post Prime Day or Black Friday. That's how it works now.
So, I'd like to point out that you insisted that I not say Black Friday, and
Right.
then you proceed to say it more times than I did.
I'm
So,
allowed to say it.
so let's go on and talk about Cyber Monday.
Right. Sure.
No, it is all turning into such a scam. Um, because half of the stuff doesn't even really go on sale. Everybody knows this now, or enough people know this now. Um,
Kirby said my kids already sent me their Christmas list. That's good. It's good to have kids who do that early. My mom's asked me like twice now. I'm like, I'll get back to you.
okay, despite all the jokes, though, you're no longer in that age range where you can be the typical quote unquote kid.
That's true. I can just buy things for myself
Yeah.
now. So the hard part is more like, okay, what can I reasonably ask someone to buy something for me?
Oh,
Right?
just yeah,
Yeah.
you're not quite to the point of asking for socks yet, but just wait.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I bought new socks like 2 months ago, so I'm good on socks probably.
But no, there really is something about it. Like I don't remember the last time that I even asked for something for Christmas. It just Christmas to me is the it's that time of the year where you think, "Oh wow, not enough money and it's cold." And then I kind of circle back around to thinking, "Oh, but there are at least going to be a couple of days where for the most part I can anticipate no one's going to no work is going to ping me or nag me." I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not that I won't be working, just I won't be getting Slack pings as frequently.
Yeah, yeah. That is nice.
Though that has largely to do with the fact that Artem is no longer in charge.
Oof.
I mean, it's true. Come on, you know that.
I've done that a couple. Not so much recently, but there have been a couple days recently where I'm like working a little bit later because I just like couldn't focus at all, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna keep doing this because I'm like halfway through this, and like it's just gonna be better for everyone involved if figure this out now. I don't really want to go back to this later. And it's just like, man, I can get a lot of done when no one's asking me questions. This is great.
Oh, absolutely. I've said many times my favorite time to work is middle of the night. My favorite time to be awake is middle of the night because uh I mean, as long as you can do something, you can always do it faster because you never have anyone contacting you. You never have anyone asking you for anything. It is so great to just start working on something and know you don't have to stop. You can just zone in on it, focus,
Or
and
when I'm
do it.
when I'm stopping, it's for me. It's because I need food or I need to go to the bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, I went to the bathroom, I got food, now I gotta come back. Oh wait, I can't start on what I wanted to start. Something else needs to happen. Anyway.
Even grocery shopping, I will stand by
Yeah.
this so much. Grocery shopping, like at 1 or 2 a.m., greatest experience ever.
Yeah.
Anyone who does not or has not done this, you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah. So speaking of grocery shopping at 2 a.m., Disney is changing its subscription stuff again.
That is the strangest transition I think you've ever tried.
And it worked.
Okay.
So Disney had their quarter three earnings, I guess it is, today, and they were talking about some stuff in the earnings report, and then also in the call they do afterwards. And there's more stuff for the streaming services. They are increasing some prices again. It's really interesting to watch this happen where you can tell the ads are just worth so much money, because the past couple times Netflix has done this and Disney has done this, the prices for the ad subsidized versions stay the same, but the no ads just keep going up and up and up. So now Disney Plus with no ads is going from $11 a month to $14 a month, and Hulu without ads is going from $15 a month to $18 a month, which is crazy. But the versions of those with ads are still the same. Disney Plus with ads is like $8. Oh, and Hulu is $8. And you can bundle those two with ads together for $10 a month. So far, they haven't kicked me off my grandfather thing yet, so that's pretty sweet. I've got Hulu with ads billed yearly for $100, and then Disney Plus without ads is like $2 more a month. So I'm rocking and rolling. But
yeah.
Yeah, so there's some pricing changes, also some other pricing stuff in other countries, but also they said they're going to experiment with ways of stopping password sharing next year. Don't know what that means. It seems like even like Netflix is still having issues like fully rolling that out. Doesn't seem that's working well for anyone. And also they're going to, I actually don't find it in this article, but they are going to merge they're going to start dumping Hulu content in the Disney Plus app. So if you have both of those things, you would only need one app. I actually couldn't find a good source for that. It's not in this article.
Weirdly, I thought it was the other one, but maybe not.
Oh, here we go.
Anyway, yeah, the key point is they are planning to merge them.
Okay, yeah, a different variety article, yeah, said a beta version of the Disney Plus / Hulu app will launch in December for subscribers of the two service bundle, ahead of official launch in spring of 2024, around late March. The company expects Hulu on Disney Plus to result in increased engagement, greater ad revenue, and reduce churn, which is not surprising because Disney Plus is, if you're not like really into Star Wars all that much, or maybe Marvel. I don't know how much there is on Disney Plus for a lot of people. It's definitely an issue they have.
I mean, they still have. They're still generally pumping out a lot of kid-friendly stuff. So if you fall into that category, you definitely want it. Disney Plus also has picked up a lot of like old content catalogs. So, you know, outside of their original programming, they've got tons and tons of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got a lot of stuff from Fox.
Yeah.
Now, although that's still split in the US, it's still split between Disney Plus and Hulu a little bit. And Kirby said Netflix makes you pay for 2 password sharers, right? Yeah, you if you're sharing your account with someone outside your household, they do have to pay for it, but it's still less than the price of a standalone subscription for them. So basically, you're like subleasing your Netflix subscription is how that works.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. They're just kind of screwing that up, but whatever. So, all told, I'm kind of curious how this is going to go for Disney, and especially because merging the two services together seems like it's actually going to very possibly lose some of their income. I mean, I guess what I'm looking at is if they're going to merge the two services together, presumably I think they'll probably try to produce a little bit less content overall. Though Hulu already does not produce a lot in terms of original content. I don't know if you've... Well, you use Hulu pretty regularly, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Or at least in recent history, you've been an active subscriber or had an active subscription.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like they put out a lot of original content?
I mean, a lot of the stuff wasn't like stuff I was personally all that interested in. Like, I know it's good. Like, I know, like, the weird thing with Hulu was that it was so integrated with Fox and FX. Oh, I didn't do a thumbs up, Mac. Thank you. Yeah, I've got the video effects now. There it goes. So, like, in terms of like Hulu exclusive stuff, there wasn't a lot. But how Disney was increasingly framing it was like, if you have Hulu, you get all of the like Fox stuff and the FX stuff, which was like their like good shows basically. It wasn't like, you know, Gordon Ramsay show number 64, although they do have that too. It was like, you know, It's Always Sunny, you know, stuff like that. I think Atlanta was FX. So I know that was part of it. It seems like they've been ramping up a little bit. They've got, you know, the Futurama series going now. They've got Only Murders in the Building's been pretty popular, it seems like. But
okay,
yeah.
So I guess maybe, well, I mean, that's still not really relating to original content. That's just they're getting other people's original content accessible. Yeah. So the thing is, Disney Plus seems to be the only place where they're really pumping money into a lot of original stuff. I mean, I cover new movie releases every week, so I do see a few things popping up on Hulu from time to time, but it's a very, very infrequent thing. So, and it's a lot of documentaries, so who cares?
It definitely feels like Hulu was never like really going for movies ever. Like even in terms of like licensed stuff, it was primarily
more TV shows. But even TV, I don't see a lot of that popping up in the list. Like Hulu originals are not.
Yeah, it's all thing. FX, whatever.
So yeah, all told, I guess what I'm circling back to is if they're, you know, most of the budget that they're dedicating to content, it's going into Disney Plus. I don't think that budget's really going to drop significantly, if at all. And they're going to be merging these two, which, I mean, they could just take the total price of the two, put it together, and say that's going to be the price they charge. But is it? Like, I think they're going to have trouble. Oh, there goes Corbin. I think they're going to have trouble really, like, landing that plane. Just repeating the sentence since I barely started it. They're going to have trouble landing that plane where they can just outright say, oh yeah, you don't need, or we're still going to charge you the same amount we charge for two services now that it's only one.
Yeah, it's very weird because they're saying here that they're going to start merging basically the front ends, but they're still treating them like different content packages. So we are back to cable, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, and that's, to an extent, I will give them this, well, not credit, but I'll acknowledge this is kind of what HBO is starting to sort of set themselves up for. Anyone who's got HBO, which I believe includes you've surely noticed that they're now kind of really promoting that they have kind of the different aspects of HBO.
Yeah.
Which I think ultimately is probably going to lead to them doing sort of a lot of, hey, do you want to see sports? Well, pay extra and you get the sports package. If you want to see, our movies and original series and blah, 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 you have this package, which probably is just included. If you want these other parts of our content library, then maybe you pay for that package. We haven't heard that. I don't know if it's been rumored or not, but it's just very visibly kind of starting to turn into it. Which I could see Disney doing, but I don't know if that's really going to go very far. And the reason I bring this up is, of course, the other thing Disney announced is they lost a lot of money. They lost $387 million. That was this year, not this quarter, right?
That was no, that was this quarter on
Oof.
Where was that big number? So Disney narrowed the operating loss on its streaming segment to $512 million, and the same quarter from last year, that was a loss of $1.1 billion. So they're
weird.
not bleeding quite as badly as they were a year ago, but it is still a significant amount of money.
That's so weird. It's different numbers in these two articles. Same website, Variety, posted the same day, and they have different numbers.
Oh yeah, I see.
But this one is claiming 387 million for the quarterly loss. So, I'm gonna go with that just to be more optimistic about it.
Okay. Yeah, whatever it is, it's an unfathomable amount of money, regardless. So.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in Discord, or like I joked, the only person who would be happy about saying that they only lost 387 million in a quarter is Elon Musk. Everyone else should look at this number and go, yeah, that's kind of bad. Like, you're really just throwing money away at this point. And don't get me wrong, I think there is some validity to spending the money now, building up a content library that is just really big and incentivizes people to drop in on a regular basis and just watch stuff. Because once you've put the money into making the stuff, the only cost after that is paying out residuals. And then you just own the content, which is great for Disney. That's great for long term. That's investing. But it doesn't mean that they don't have to keep spending money developing more content. So it's not like their costs are really going to go down. They just have an increasing library of some value.
Yeah.
Hey, Austin. Sorry you can't stay. Wish you could, but, take it easy. Have a great day.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun. I'm sure Bob Iger is having a fun time um, trying to piece all this together in one of his several mansions, really sweat it
Yeah.
out. Anyway, so that was a fun thing. Um, what else? What else is what's next? I can talk about. I just briefly. I'm now on the new Mac OS Sonoma update. I waited for the point one, and it's pretty nice. I like the widgets on the desktop. It felt great to get the widgets out of my notification panel on my Mac where they never should have been. And now they're on the desktop, which is still like one click most of the time because I usually do have my screen filled up, but it's just a different place I click in, so it's fine. Um,
Yeah, I still haven't done anything with widgets on the desktop. I don't care to try. Because genuinely, the only time I see my desktop, and I wish I was kidding about this, the only time I see it is either if I connect my monitor to the laptop, and then for a brief period in time, the windows are disorganized and I have to move them around, at which point, no more desktop. Or if I accidentally click on the desktop.
yeah,
In
yeah,
the
because it now does do that thing where
Yeah.
when you click on it, it moves all your windows out of the way briefly, and you click and they come back.
Yeah,
Which
which
is exactly like the show desktop button in Windows.
yeah. So, I mean, I get it, but I'm never gonna put a widget back there. Sorry, Apple. This just is not gonna be a useful feature to me. Um,
Yeah. So yeah, the widgets are kind of cool. Basically just use the weather and calendar widgets. I know if you have an iPhone, it'll like mirror widgets from your iPhone on there, which is kind of cool. But I don't like really need those on my computer. Again, I mostly just need the calendar and the weather, so I remember what I'm supposed to be doing and how cold it is outside. Those are the two main things. Um,
Not that
I
it matters all that
was
much, but I've discovered that if you use any of the stuff that resizes windows now, OBS is tracking that size change, and it is totally bungling your video feed every time I do it. Not that it matters. I try not to do that
yeah.
basically ever,
I think
but
I
it is
think I
funny.
saw that was something that got fixed in the 14.1 bug fix, whatever that just came out. Because I know there was other issues with like applications that track screen stuff. So maybe that's fixed now. I don't know. But it's pretty nice. I will say, like, I've tried to play around with. I have Crossover installed, and they have an updated version with the new Direct 3D Metal stuff that Apple made for their game toolkit. And I still can't really run Overwatch on my Mac, so that's sad. That's the main reason I would use it. So
I wonder.
gaming
Okay,
on Mac still rough.
why? Out of curiosity, do you know why you can't run it?
It runs. It's just very slow.
Okay, because I've heard a lot of people, or not a lot, I've heard a few people, Zach being one of them, who talks endlessly about it. Apparently it runs on his Mac just fine. And I'm thinking that this probably has, well, it's got some glitches, but I have a feeling that it probably has a lot to do with you having very little RAM.
No, I have 16 gigs on my Mac Mini. Right, I tried it.
Oh, okay.
But it is still a base M1, so that's probably part of it.
Yeah, that would be a big part of it. The reason, I'm curious because I'm sitting here with an M1 Max and 32 gigs of RAM. So I'm thinking I have the specs in theory. As long as an M1 would cut it at all, then this is the one that will do it.
Yeah. So, that's annoying, but anyway. So yeah, Mac OS Sonoma, kind of nice. Again, I wish Mac had games. That's the main thing I want from Apple at this point. Everything else is fine. Maybe again, I'd like games and or Boot Camp back. Figure out one of those two things, Apple.
Well, for what it's worth, I would say it's pretty clear Apple's actually making a legitimate play for games now. Increasingly, though, I'm starting to... I've been kind of saying they won't do this, and I'm starting to think the other way around. I think the smart thing Apple should do is buy a game studio. Buy a game studio and start making games. I know. I hate that. I hate the idea of that. I can't think of anything I want less than to see Apple suddenly be like, oh, we're going to start showing up to E3. Actually, there won't be an E3, but we'll, I don't want to see Apple suddenly try to pretend to care about games in the sense of like sending Tim Cook out to pitch the latest game releases or something like that. Just feels so cringy and wrong and weird. But at the same time, I'm sitting here like they have a ridiculous huge amount of money that they can throw around. They've got multiple platforms that would be really good targets for games. They have an audience of people who is eager to throw money at games. Why have they not just decided to fill that need and start making games? I mean, that's really not any different than what they did with Apple TV.
Yeah, and I know they won't do this because they're if they can choose between something that's functional or something that is super simple, looks good, they're gonna choose the latter. But it is frustrating to me that like they've built so many parts of like a great gaming platform, but because they won't build that like last final little thing that Valve blew money on to build, which is like some kind of good compatibility layer for existing games, it's just not viable. Like they have like an absolutely incredible like x86 translation engine. They have their own fully custom graphics stack. They have the most efficient chipsets. But there's just like no good option for like anything that's not entirely native or even native. Like them dropping 32-bit apps a while back. I kind of did a number on the Mac gaming catalog.
Yeah, I did.
That's only like slightly starting to recover, but not for all those old games that got lost. But yeah, it's annoying. I wish they would do something there because it is like it's very funny that Linux is now a much better gaming platform than Mac. Not from a hardware perspective, but like it's running most games fine. It's still a little technical, and also it's now entirely dependent on Valve to continue caring, and Valve dropped Mac pretty quickly, so I don't know necessarily how great I would feel playing on Linux right now based on that, but as long as Valve keeps selling Steam Decks, you're probably okay.
Okay.
Once the Steam Deck money runs out, you might need to worry.
I just had the most hilarious picture in my head of what could happen. So I was just saying Apple should buy a game studio. Clearly I'm wrong. They should buy Valve. I saw that reaction. I saw it in your face. There was a shudder. You visibly shuddered in a shocked way. But I'm gonna throw in. Here's how they sell people on it. This is how they get everyone on their side. Pre-announce Half-Life 3.
Yeah, or I mean, Team Fortress 3 for Mac would save gaming for sure.
I mean, it sounds so stupid. It sounds so ridiculous. But honestly, if they just committed to get Half-Life 3 built and out the door within, let's say, the next 2 years, I doubt they could really make a promise like that. But if they could promise, like, as soon as we take over, Half-Life 3 will be made a priority. I can just picture the entire gaming world going, okay, wait, let's hear them out.
Tim Tim Cook announcing the iPhone 17 and then immediately pivoting to Half-Life 3 would be very funny. No, but that's horrifying in terms of like competition. Now, what I think would be kind of cool if Apple did was like
Really quickly, let me
buy.
interject. Let me interject. You
Okay,
said
all right.
you said he announces the iPhone 17 and immediately pivots. No, he would not immediately pivot. He would drop a one more thing. Admit
Hmm.
it. That is one more thing territory.
Be one, yeah, be pretty good. One more thing.
Okay. Anyway,
I
sorry.
would, I
Go on.
would, I would be okay with Apple buying like a third of Valve, and then like like Comcast until very recently had like a piece of Hulu where they can just like say things that need to happen, but it's kind of like you're not a majority owner. Like buy a third of Valve and then be like, hey, we need you guys to actually support these Macs. Can you do that for us? Just a little bit of purchasing, not a lot.
Oh man. Yeah. The only problem I
Or
have with that
do that with
metaphor, or
like any gaming studio. Go to, I don't know, Ubisoft or EA or something.
yeah. In truth, and I know everybody says this all the time, and for good reason. I think if Apple's going to buy anything, it's going to be Nintendo, and uh, that that's just a whatever. That feels like such a boring acquisition, if there ever was one. But we'll see. Um, Especially because man, there's so little stuff in Nintendo that feels like interesting in the way that it really needs high performance graphics or anything like that. And I don't know, whatever. um yeah, don't know where I was going with that, but
That's fine. Um, Speaking of going somewhere,
real what?
uh, Microsoft is getting annoying with Windows 11 again,
Okay. It,
going to a different computing platform. I don't know.
all right, we'll let that
So
happen.
yeah,
um
this was a funny thing where OneDrive on Windows, when you quit it now, it will ask you why you quit it. That's it. It'll and it's like it's exactly like the prompts you get when you like uninstall some apps, and they're like, "Can you tell us why you deleted the app?" But instead, it's just quitting the OneDrive application because like you can't like really uninstall it. You probably could with like some, you know, registry something or other, but mostly people just quit it. So now Microsoft is like, "Guys, why are you quitting it?" Um, and it asks some of the options are I don't want OneDrive running all the time. I don't know what OneDrive is. I don't use OneDrive, or I get too many notifications. Um, and this is funny also in the context of actually this article from The Verge links to it. I was about to bring it up because I already knew about it. But it does mention that now when you that Microsoft is doing a very similar thing with Edge, where when you try to download Chrome through Edge, it will pop up a little sidebar asking you why you want Chrome instead of using Edge.
yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, these are some unusually well, I don't know that well, okay, they're definitely user hostile. I don't know if I would just peg them as user hostile, or if I just want to say that this is such a brazenly desperate move. And don't get me wrong, some of these things I kind of actually get why they might want to see these reports. If they see somebody complaining that they're trying to speed up their computer, or if let's see, if they're trying to fix a problem with OneDrive, like these are things that actually could indicate, oh yeah, we need to let the development team work on this. Maybe they can figure out what's actually wrong. those are valid like things. And maybe, just maybe, I'll throw this in. If OneDrive's quit out box had actually said, do you have a problem with OneDrive, and you can click it and give a reason, like that would be a different thing. But it's very clear what they're doing here is like half of these options are really just people saying, I'm not happy with this, I'm not happy with it running right now, just let me quit the damn thing. And their reasons for not being happy with it don't have to track back to actual bugs or problems with the app. It can literally be, oh no, I just need more RAM. I need to not have this thing currently working on the network. I need to whatever. Like,
or just I don't use OneDrive. Like that's
yeah.
it. Like you just I have a computer, I don't use OneDrive. I don't need OneDrive running. Go away.
Yeah, and the mere fact that I could be wrong, but I was under the assumption that at this stage OneDrive basically is just like built in and basically unavoidable. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess you can maybe still uninstall it, or it can be completely turned off by like the system administrator, but it is very like it is built in. It shows up obviously in the like file manager thing, and then if your OneDrive storage is full, then you'll get like a, it shows up in like the Windows settings app, like what your OneDrive subscription is. So kind of like Apple and iCloud in that regard, except like Apple won't be, when you don't open your iCloud drive enough, it won't be like, why aren't you using iCloud drive? If it's full, you just get like me, where it'll alert you like once a week, like, hey, your storage is full. I'm like, I know, I'm not paying for more.
yeah.
But
Yeah, and
yeah, it's really annoying, and like I might write an article about this at some point, but I think it's so interesting to me that like Microsoft is capable of building good software, and some of the stuff that they've built, like I think if you exclude, like if for a moment we ignore like all of the like weird stuff with upgrading to Windows 11 where you can't do it, and the parts of Windows 11 that like nag you about other Microsoft products, like it's actually really good. Like when I have used Windows 11, it's mostly really good, but it's like all those like nagging parts that just completely ruin that, where I can't be like, if someone's asked me like, hey, should I upgrade to Windows 11? Like, I mean, you kind of have to, like in 2 years when Windows 10 updates run out, but like it's good, but there's other stuff going on. And they just have this constant issue over there where they let like the product managers just ruin everything. Like OneDrive, like it's like I pay for OneDrive, like it's fine. I'm sure like if you start bugging people about it, they're gonna have a more negative opinion about it. Microsoft Edge has been completely ruined by the upselling to other Microsoft services that goes on there. Like I gave Edge an honest shot a couple months ago. I'm like, you know what? I'll try it out because I do see a couple things there that I like. I like that it has this thing called Drop in it, which is basically Push Bullet, but it's in the browser, and it's better because it's not it's not a browser extension that's like I think gone or deprecated. And it has some other stuff that's nice, but like it just refuses to let me not use Bing. It will like, if I turn off all the like extra Bing shit on like the new tab page, at some point some of that will turn back on. Or when I change the browser, when I change the search engine in Bing, that setting does not synchronize to the other computers. I have to do that on every single other device, which is something I don't think Chrome does. From what I remember when I tried it. But
to my knowledge or recollection, the only thing Chrome really syncs is your extensions, which is actually something I wish it didn't sync.
And Yes, it's so bad now, and Microsoft just has this issue for like everything connected to Windows 11. It's not a surprise because Edge is now like full. Like there was an article I think a month or two ago that said like there's not really a separate like Edge team anymore. It's just part of the like Windows 11 teams, and you can tell because it's like just as insufferable as Windows 11 about this stuff. Um, and it's really annoying. Where like they have a lot of like pretty good apps and services over there, but it's like just completely ruined by the most blatant like upselling annoying stuff. And like at a certain point it definitely like affects your ability to do anything, because now I think like ever since Edge existed there's always been the people like, no, I'm not using Edge, fuck off, I just want to download Chrome. But it's like now that's like probably more people because it's so grating with it. Like that Verge article has a screenshot, or the one that's linked in that OneDrive one about Edge. They have screenshots of like everything Edge throws in your face as you're trying to download Google Chrome, and it's like, as if you like search Google Chrome in Bing, which is the default search in Edge, Bing will do a little pop up that's like, you don't need it, guys, don't download it. And then
Yeah.
you get a little like, then it progresses like a browser level like pop up, which is insane. Where it's like, you don't need Edge. It's you don't need Chrome. It's the same as Edge now. And then you get the survey that's like, please tell us why you won't use our browser.
Yeah. And at this stage, well, there's you said pretty much everything. At this stage, it's just looking so bad on Microsoft that they're going to keep sort of riding people in these really weird ways. Um, it's not helping. Obviously, like, people don't if people don't want to use your stuff, people are not going to use your stuff. If you nag them, do you who out there is going to respond particularly positively to the nags? And don't get me wrong, I know they're the old grandparent types, they're the your random tech illiterate neighbors. Some of them do, I know that. It's not like I'm clueless about them, but the reality is a lot of those people just, they're not responding, or a lot of people just generally don't respond to being nagged. They know what they're going to get, or they've been told to get something, and they do it. Or they have somebody else there who's operating the computer enough and saying, oh yeah, no, I'm just going to get rid of Edge for you. Or, well, maybe not get rid of it, you can't, but I'm just going to install Chrome for you because that's what you should use, or Firefox, or whatever. That's the reality. Like, no one is out there yelling and screaming at these people successfully that you shouldn't use this other thing that's way more popular, more liked, that you should use the thing that came with your OS. The only one doing that is Microsoft, and it's not working.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just very annoying. And again, like there's a lot in Windows 11 that is very nice. I've written about this a couple times, but it's just like there's also this like everything people didn't like about Windows 10 in terms of like being aggressive with like other Microsoft services, or like annoying you to update something. It's ramped up so much more. Um, and I don't have to deal with that anymore. I'm using a Mac 90% of the time. So well done, guys.
Yeah.
Although, in fairness, I bought the Mac not entirely because of the annoying software, but mostly just because when I opened Audacity on my Surface laptop, the fans would kick on almost immediately, and also the laptop lasted like 5 hours on a charge. So that's Microsoft's fault, and also Intel.
Yeah, so let's see. I don't know. Do we have more on this?
No.
Okay. So let's see. The last topic I have on the list, and by the way, if anyone listening has other topics you'd like to suggest, I suppose really quickly, just because Carson threw it in chat, there was this thing. Well, Corbin, you can click on it in chat.
Yes.
Evidently, Apple is going to award Taylor Swift with a computer wafer award for Apple Music's Artist of the Year. I can't help but look at this and just think that is both the coolest and the worst award I think they could offer. It looks weirdly... I'm not a designer, so maybe I shouldn't be trying to judge it too harshly, but it sort of looks like somebody decided the back of an iPad should just look like a big camera sensor. And I think about how this is going to look hanging on a wall, and it strikes me as, yeah, this isn't going to look good.
You'd also have to hang it on a wall probably, because this looks really thin.
Yeah. I suppose you could set it into sort of like a tablet stand. Yeah. But...
Or you've got like your bookends, and you put it on the front.
But yeah, it would be cool, but this doesn't seem like the type of award you give to a music artist. This looks like the type of award you give to, well, actually, maybe a photographer, just because, again, it kind of reminds me of more like a camera sensor. But I could also just see giving this as an award for someone with computer-related things, not musicians. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, so yeah, weird choices. But the last remaining topic that I had specifically planned was Samsung is gearing up for a late 2024 release of their Vision Pro competitor, which the mega fast update. For those who may not remember, the Vision Pro is the VR headset that Apple announced early this year. Well, not early. I guess it was in May, right? They announced a headset. They promised it was going to come in, I think it was early 2024. I'm still a little skeptical about their release date aims, but whatever.
Can you dump the link for this in somewhere?
Yeah, dropping it into chat now. And sorry, it's from the site that doesn't usually report things very accurately. But regardless, this is this is the typical rumor reports mill. This is coming from Jung Ang, which is a South Korean site. And yeah, they're basically saying that this is going to be kind of a direct competitor. We already know that this is a partnership between Samsung, Google, and Qualcomm. It's going to be powered by Snapdragon chips, obviously using a lot of Android's capabilities, so on and so forth. Everything is really predictable here. It's not like there's any big surprises about what this is going to do. Supposedly Samsung is planning to have 30,000 units available initially, which is I'm going to call it optimistic. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they'll actually find uses for all 30,000. I don't think they're going to sell anywhere close to that, though. Just because, truthfully, I think there will be probably about 10,000 units that people will just buy because they want to buy them. Maybe another 5,000 will go to random YouTubers and such. And I think anyone else who would even have a consideration for buying this is probably going to wait for the reviews to hit. And every reviewer is going to say the exact same thing. And it's the same thing that when we talked about the Vision Pro before, it is the it is all the things that we already predicted were going to be weak points for the Vision Pro. It's probably not going to be comfortable to wear for really long-term sessions, especially with the external battery that has to connect by a cable. Um, and hey, maybe this won't have that limitation, in which case it'll be heavier and even less comfortable. Um, it has to be really dead on with the displays. It has to fit well. It has to do all these different things. But I think the obvious it is so obvious as to almost not even warrant discussion. Except that's exactly what we're gonna do. It's gonna have no apps. Apple is sitting here. They've already released an SDK. They've already released a really fairly good emulator to replicate the experience as much as you can without a actual display. But where the apps, like, even right now, a lot of people have basically said the same thing. The Vision Pro is going to have very few apps on launch, and what's there is going to be pretty bare bones simple.
Yeah, the and also the Vision Pro, even in this scenario where it's not clear what dedicated software will be built for it initially, that will like actually make sense. It's still going to have most iPad apps, which will
Mm-hmm.
already puts it on a stronger foothold than this, which will just run Android, which is uh, d- doesn't have a lot of apps that are built for larger screen sizes that would benefit from this. Like, do you put this on, and then you just have like a bunch of like phone sized windows around your room. Um, and like also what's killing me with this, and again I keep going back to this, is like Google had this like 5 8 years ago, however long it was. Like I used Daydream on my Google Pixel. It was not like a spatial computing thing like it seems like Apple is doing, and what I assume Samsung wants to duplicate. But it was like a full Android environment that like worked in VR. Google was working on pass-through stuff. They were working on better controllers. They were working on better hardware, but they just dropped it. And now Apple came out with this, and I guess they're just gonna have to build like all that from scratch now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like great job, you know. And then at the same time, like the the selling point, and I guess this is where Samsung maybe could differentiate itself, is the selling point for the Vision Pro is very productivity. Like this is just a computer like on your face. So like most of the ads and stuff Apple was doing for it, it was I've got like my work computer stuff on my head. I'm typing up documents. I'm web browsing. I'm watching movies sometimes. But basically no gaming. That was something that was kind of missing, and there's no like gaming like motion controller for it. Like it's not like a VR headset at all. Like that's not what they're doing. They were showing things where like you could play like games intended for like iPads and stuff, with like a PS5 controller Bluetooth hooked up, but that's a very different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Android has fewer of those like productivity apps, or they're just not as good.
Yeah,
Um, and
that's kind of putting it lightly, even.
yeah, and the gaming situation also isn't great. They could still do the thing Apple was doing where like you can, run your mobile games with like a, controller or whatever. Um, but like if Samsung went further in on like VR gaming, that could be a differentiator because it's something Apple's apparently not interested in. Um, the problem is that that is an ecosystem they would have to build from scratch because it doesn't exist on Android right now. Um, the closest thing to that is Meta's Quest headsets. They are still based on Android. Um, it's just been forked or whatever, and they don't use the Google Play Store or anything like that. They have their own like full whole ecosystem over there.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a heavily or completely different API too.
yeah, Yeah. So no matter how so like if they wanted to do that, they would have to at minimum reach out to a lot of Quest devs and be like, "Do you want to make games for this headset that's probably not going to sell well?"
Mm-hmm.
um, and unclear how long Samsung might be willing to stick with something like that. Um, I mean, like, kind of no matter how you shake it, like this would rely on Samsung and Google building a new platform, and that's something they're not good at. Um,
Well, and Samsung has we can now say a documented history of being bad at getting developers to develop things. Like uh, anyone who has had a Note or an Edge phone, which actually now you don't even need either. You don't need Edge to have their that Edge panel thing. Um, Nobody develops for those. Nobody wrote apps for that stuff. And when I say no one, obviously there are exceptions. Yes, there was always, there are a few dozen apps, but a few dozen, like, I doubt they even crossed 100 for
yeah,
either of those things. And we're talking about Samsung, the undisputed leader in Android devices, and they couldn't get anybody to, or couldn't get meaningful numbers of developers to actually build apps for their phones. That's not promising. When you know that you actually have a large audience, or developers know that there's a large audience available, and they're still like, yeah, that's not worth it.
yeah.
That's not a good sign, because Samsung is terrible at this. They're almost adept at driving developers away from them. And so we now have a platform that they're going to try shipping, which honestly, unless Google is out there really like pounding the pavement trying to get developers on it, which, how incentivized are they? I mean, I'd
and
like to
and
think that
like
they are, but I kind of don't think that we haven't seen signs that they're pushing it.
and it's Android. That's the thing. Like
Yeah.
every app for Android is primarily built for a touchscreen phone, and you want to put those in a completely different environment. Like I don't even really like the idea of like the Vision Pro being like iPad OS but scaled up. But Apple has been trying to make their iPad apps functionally close to a lot of their Mac apps. So it's not like as much of a gap as it would be between like Android on a phone and Android on one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, I guess the comparison would be like Android versus Windows. Like it's not that big of a difference. Um, it's just I don't know how this would work. And again, Google again, if they want to build this ecosystem, they got to go back to the developers who they like, slowly let die when they killed off Daydream. Be like, hey guys, you want to work on a XR platform with us?
To their minimal defense, I don't.
That was a long time ago, and also they barely got anyone that time, so it's fine.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Plus, Daydream was always kind of that janky, like slap it together with duct tape level of solution. It was never, in my opinion, a very good answer
Yeah,
for.
it was very like early stuff,
Yeah.
early VR. Like you got your like VR like launcher thing, and Google built a couple apps, and then the rest was just like games.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Exactly. And it
but
just.
the apps were really cool in 2015, at least to me. Um,
I mean, they were better than I expected, but they were also not
yeah,
that great. Which has kind of always been the issue with this stuff. If it's not something that's built to the level of like the Vision Pro or this Samsung headset, if it turns out to be good, um, if it's not built to that level, frankly, it feels too DIY, and ends up being a disappointing experience. It doesn't feel good. No one wants to use it when it's like that. And that's not something you really want to have to be the case. So, yeah, I think they could probably get developers on board, but I wish I didn't have to say it this way, but I think the only way they're going to do it is by getting a bunch of, like, literally seed a ton of devices out to, like, game companies, seed them out to, oh, my cat has decided to visit very, very aggressively. Hey, honey.
It's a good response.
Yeah. You little pain. How you doing?
And also the again, the part where like Apple's a little bit different here is that they were like reinforcing over and over again in that press event that like they were treating this as like another iPad type device, like another software platform on equal footing with like iOS and Mac OS. I don't know if it's actually going to turn out that way, but like that's what they were like really reinforcing. And there's like a pretty clear picture of like this is coming out, and then eventually there'll be a cheaper one, and then they're going to keep making new models. And like that's something that Google is not, they're not good at doing that.
No.
So that's kind of an issue there, is like, you know, if I'm a developer, I probably feel a lot better about dumping money into Vision OS than I do like a weird XR thing that Samsung built with Google software. And I guess like maybe the way around that would be like getting other OEMs to make these headsets, but I don't know.
Well,
there's a lot of issues with this.
One thing I do sort of wonder, this is a collaboration between Google, Samsung, and Qualcomm. Very obviously, this is not something that is just for Samsung. Google and Qualcomm are very clearly trying to do this as a, if anyone else wants to make this, we want to make sure that's available, but we're starting with Samsung, which kind of feels sort of like what happened with Wear OS, where, Google worked with Samsung, basically gave them early access to it and worked exclusively with them, didn't give anyone else access to it. Well, show me who's still making Wear OS devices. It's the one big producer, Fossil, and nobody else. Obviously Samsung and Google. That's it. We're now down to just those three. At least as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's what was that one company? I'm totally blanking on their name, but there was a company that made kind of cheaper watches that usually had sort of slightly higher end chips.
Oh, Mobvoi.
Yeah, Mobvoi. I could imagine Mobvoi still being in it. I don't know if they are or not, but that's it. I mean, Wear OS is kind of turned from a thing everyone had their hands on to now just being just the rare few.
Yep.
And I don't think a headset is going to go any other direction. I don't believe we're going to see a ton of companies trying to land rush the headset. That ship has sailed. So in a way that's good. I mean, it means that there won't be a bunch of competition over doing this, which means you're not going to have a diluted market. But on the other hand, it also means that if Samsung doesn't land this plane, no one else is. And I just don't see the app situation working out. Not unless they really work some wonders with this.
Well, again, they would be in a better place if they weren't dicking around the last 10 years with Chromebooks. Like, they've had so long to get like a good library of Android apps that also work well on a larger device that isn't necessarily a touchscreen, and they just haven't really done that. There's like a handful of Android apps that are like properly optimized for Chromebooks, and that's that's always been the case.
Yeah.
So again, if they made it that far, again, they'd be arguably in a better position than Vision OS maybe, with at least some segments. Because like there are some Android apps on Chromebooks that are like, Lightroom's on there. They've got a couple different video editors on there now. Other stuff in that segment that would be fine, but again, they never really built that out. So
Yeah.
and also again, we're still using Android as the platform for all of this.
So I don't. Yeah. Oh man, I don't consider that necessarily a bad thing.
It's not. It's not bad. It's more just like Android is on so many form factors, but by and large, the apps built for it are built for one form factor, and that's the issue.
Right. So, and that's where I'm going to kind of push back a little bit, because when it comes to operating systems, the thing I always kind of drag out is to say that you're using an operating system doesn't necessarily mean that you're using the operating system as everyone knows it, as everyone thinks of it, and without heavy modifications. So like when Apple first announced the iPhone, one of the things they said is it's using Mac OS. They literally did advertise it as using Mac OS, which was categorically false. And then they later flipped around and called it iPhone OS, which then became iOS. But the thing that was true, like, they were marketing it in a very lying way, but the thing that was true though is they were using components from Mac OS. They were actually using the file system. They were actually using some of their like process scheduling and various other components of Mac OS. You can do the same with Android OS. Like, the reality is you can take the file system, you can take a lot of the work that they've done and use all that stuff. There's really like good stuff there. They just have to actually, take it apart from the things that don't fit, which is largely that UI system. And when we think of Android, that's what we usually think of, is the UI. That UI layer is
the apps, yeah.
Heavy. Yeah, well, the apps is part of it. That's a really heavy part of the operating system that's there. And the complicated thing there is, if you also want people to be able to develop for it quickly, you still have to leave a lot of that stuff in. You can modify it, you can rip out parts, take away the stuff that we think of as part of the launcher and some of the various other things. But generally speaking, yeah, if they want app compatibility, they got to leave most of that stuff intact. But if they want to make this thing nice and really lightweight and performant, not to say Android doesn't have some of that stuff pretty well locked in, but if they want to do a lot of that stuff, they kind of need to rip some things out or find new ways to optimize it.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely confident that they have the... I don't want to say they don't have the chops for it. I think if anything, it's actually more they don't have the power to make Qualcomm chips faster and more efficient, and therefore that's where they're kind of running weak.
I mean, again, like, Google has so much money and resources. Like, I think they could do it if they like really set their mind on it, but they just don't.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I think they could literally make the operating system efficient and performant. I think that they can make a good interface for this headset. I think there are a lot of things they could do. The problem is also turning that around and convincing developers, hey, we've done these things. They're really good. And we promise this time we're going to stick with something. That's the part that I don't have faith in.
Because what you're fundamentally also talking about is like Samsung Dex, but in 3D. And Dex is not that good. Like, it's fine for what it is. It's not great.
So, and that to me raises the other issue with this that I think has to be called out. How much is this going to cost?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not mentioned anywhere in this article, and I don't know that it has ever been discussed anywhere. But the Vision, how much was the Vision Pro?
Like $3,000 or something.
Yeah, I want to say it was like $3,500. But Vision Pro price. Yeah, 3,500. So,
Yeah, and a lot of that price is in like this crazy bonkers display.
yeah.
And like these other stuff that like just does not exist in the marketplace right now. And it's not like, is that something Samsung might compromise on either out of like price concern or just like we don't want to deal with that right now, and maybe it could be cheaper as a result. I don't know. um
I mean, I expect it will be cheaper. I wouldn't set a higher expectation than that, but I expect it would be cheaper just because Samsung likely will try to make it cheaper to make it more appealing. But but how much cheaper can they go? In a totally ridiculous hypothetical, let's say they could actually get this down to 2,500, a full $1,000 off.
yeah,
I mean, how many
that's
people?
still
Yeah, how
that's
many
still
people
a
are going to
lot.
buy that?
Yeah,
That's still a lot of money. It's so much money, and
for a Android tablet on your face.
yeah, and sure, there are going to be use cases for it, and if they are really clever, they will find partnerships with companies that will use it for business purposes. Like that is the more viable path. Um, I don't necessarily know what that's going to mean or entail, but hypothetically, it would be a thing. Um, and the joke was made if if Samsung would partner with like Pornhub or something like that. Look, as funny as that sounds, it's kind of a credible argument. Um, if they were willing to partner with somebody to really push this in certain cases to certain audiences, then yeah, people look at that and go, oh, sure, I would pay. I'm willing to pay a lot of money to have a good experience with this. Apple's is $1,000 more to do the exact same thing that Samsung's thing is. Yeah, in which case, sure, I'll pay less to get this. Cat, you do not get to climb on the laptop. I let you up on the desk and on the keyboard. You don't get to be on the laptop. Jeez.
Talking back. That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's been persistent since the weather has gotten bad. Here's the keyboard. You can lay on that.
it's like
She did.
this is just such a weird product. I don't know. Oh, that's very cute.
Oh, I forgot to change it. Yeah. She is very much just decided the keyboard is going to be her bed.
That's understandable. But yeah, I don't know how this would be. Like I don't know why I would buy this. Is my thing. Like if they can make it a lot cheaper, sure. If they can get, a lot of things need to happen that I'm not confident Google or Samsung can do. That's really what it comes down to. Samsung can't build software platforms. They have historically been very bad at that. And Google is also not that great at it, but mostly just out of the inability to stick with something for a while.
Yeah.
And also just Android mostly being phone applications is not going to probably scale up that well. So
Yeah, it's really it's mind-boggling when you consider between the two, Android was designed basically from day one to be scalable, and it fairly early on it was designed to even be scalable up to things like tablet sizes, but somehow they failed at that. They also were first to market with a smartwatch OS, at least first to market against Apple, and they failed on that one. The only one they've actually really found success on, the only non-phone interface that they've found success on, is in cars. Oh, sorry, and TVs. Cars and TVs. Though I would argue TV is kind of cheating. That one's a very different story. But yeah, I mean, they haven't really been good at most of these things, or really they haven't been successful. I shouldn't say they haven't been good. Some of them they actually were good at. They just weren't successful with them. And some of that has nothing to do with their ability to market the like developer side of it. Some of it has everything to do with the fact that the products are very not super marketable.
Yeah.
But in this instance, we're talking about a product that is hard to market. We're talking about a group of developers who don't trust them. We're talking about a market that already has a competitor that is going to beat them to market by at least 6 months or thereabouts. And even if the price ends up being substantially better than Apple's price, I don't know that it matters. I just don't see it making enough difference. And that is a rough market position to be in. So, and here's the thing. I do think Samsung needs to do this. Apple cannot be the only company doing this. And I'm not sure who else is going to compete with them.
Well, funny you say that, Cody, because I know a certain company who was also working on an XR platform 5 or 8 years ago, and has shipped at least 2 products based on it. Little company called Microsoft.
Oh, honestly, I thought you were gonna talk, or I thought you were referencing Meta.
No. I mean, they're trying. They tried to make a pro headset, but no. It's very funny that also Microsoft went through the same thing, where like they were really psyched up about VR and XR windows, and then literally the only customer for their headsets right now is the United States government. It's just the army using them for like combat training or other stuff like that.
Somewhere inside of Microsoft is a developer who's like, you know what, my products are used to kill people. All right, well,
that's also the Azure people.
Well, the Azure people are they're sitting there. No, our products are used to round up people, throw them in prisons, and then deport them back to other countries.
Yeah. You show up to work and your entire bug report emails from like ICE emails. You're like, oh god,
got another one.
Yeah.
But no, they're yeah, you're right. Microsoft is technically working on this stuff, but we just haven't seen anything to suggest that they're serious in this industry. Not in a consumer platform.
It would be interesting because it is still under development. I believe there is Windows 11 for that like XR form factor, but of course, like it's not on any consumer devices. Mm-hmm. It would be interesting if they like revive that. I think that's a lot easier to revive than Google building this and Samsung, because there's like really nothing to start from there. But Microsoft has an operating system, and they have been working with Qualcomm a lot on Windows on ARM. So could they take that, put it on the same chipsets that are going to be used for this Android thing, and maybe they have something? I don't know. It's still Windows, so it's not going to be good, but it's something.
I mean, that's the thing. They don't have to put quote unquote Windows on there. They could build it on like basically Xbox platform, which is, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know, the Xbox is just running Windows. It's scaled down heavily. They've ripped out all the UI stuff, kind of like I've discussed they can do with Android.
Every game is in a little mini virtual machine.
Yeah. So it's totally practical that they could just build it sort of on top of the Xbox platform. And the beauty of that is they already have this as a product that they're working on, supposedly, or at least last I heard, the Xbox division was working on a VR headset.
I don't know if that's a thing.
Oh, thought they were. Obviously, Sony is doing this. Like that's well known.
Yeah. Well, you can go out and buy theirs right now.
Isn't it just the first one that you can buy? Did the second one actually come out?
Yeah. Okay. There's a PSVR 2. It's got some games.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, these are also kind of the very lightweight versions of these much more powerful displays. To be fair though, for what most people want, I'm not sure most people want what the Vision Pro or Samsung thing offers. Because let's be honest, you get pretty decent resolution out of like the PSVR. So, you know, so much about this product market is still sort of untested and unproven, and I don't know that anyone's actually made money off of it yet, except in theory Meta.
Yeah, that's the thing that's weirded me out, is how there's like this weird divide between the ones that are for games and the ones that are like computer replacements, but those could be the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that we have this distinction, but I guess like, I don't know, maybe Apple's looking at this and being like, no one's really doing well in this VR space. Let's just not do that. Let's like not pretend we're one of those, because then we get compared to them. But I don't know. It's very weird to me, as someone who would much rather have an Apple VR gaming headset than a iPad strapped to my face that costs $3,000. So
yeah,
just me though.
and this may also be one of the rare occasions where we can point to the gaming versions and say, oh yeah, that's the economic version. Like that's that if you don't want to spend over $1,000, oh yeah, just go buy one of the gaming headsets, because they're the cheap thing. It's if you want to do anything that's not gaming, then you have to hop in and be like, oh yeah, now you're spending $2,000 or
because the games are fine when they're like a little bit of a blurry mess, but then like you try to read an email on one of those, you're done. It's over. You're gonna get, your eyes are gonna die.
Yeah, and not only that, but usually in all the computer replacement style headsets, the big talking point has to be, we're not just doing VR anymore, it has to be AR. You need the cameras to see through to the world. You need to have all these other things sort of added into it. And yeah, that's where everything gets so much more complicated and so much more expensive. And frankly, you can tell most companies don't want to even try to do that. And I don't blame them. It's not a good experience. We've everyone complained that the Meta Quest Pro was not very good at this, and as I recall, so far the only ones who've talked about pass-through being good were the people who checked out the Vision Pro when Apple gave hands-on experiences for the people who were invited to the event. Outside of that, no one's talked about a good pass-through experience, and I have a feeling that once people get to spend more time with it, that pass-through experience on the Vision Pro might start to sort of fall apart too. We'll see.
Yeah. But yep, that's the silly Samsung headset. I am going to go now because I'm hungry. I want food.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I don't have any other topics, as we previously discussed, and somehow we managed to turn this these 3 topics into much longer than I thought we would. So, unless anyone can immediately pop up with something that's really, really demanding, or not demanding, but interesting, then I think that'll probably be about it. Corbin, is there anything you'd like to pitch, promote, name off, complain about? And feel free to talk trash about Marvel movies.
I guess just go to the space bar. There's the link in the chat. Add it to your RSS reader of choice, or subscribe via email. I'm working really hard on it, and I like writing there. It's fun.
You like writing there.
I like writing there.
You talk about it as if you just worked there.
It's this fun little play. No.
Yeah, I was hired a few months ago.
Starting from
it's
scratch.
fun working there. Yeah. I like. Yeah. Good bosses.
Yeah, showing up to the big Substack factory.
The editor's a nice guy.
Clocking in, yeah.
The editor doesn't mark up all my posts with grammatical errors and stuff, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's just me doing that. It saves a lot of
time. Yeah, so that's cool. As a completely unimportant side note, but not sure anyone's seen this, apparently the New York trial with Trump, they just sideswiped Ivanka with something that might make her criminally liable.
Nice.
So yeah, there may be charges filed.
Shout out to the state of New York. That's my shout out.
Yes. Props to Letitia James.
Yeah, it was very funny earlier when they tried to subpoena her, and she was like, but actually I have to watch my kids. Is in the middle of a school week.
Oh wait, okay. Was that the story? I thought she was going to school. I was sworn that was the claim.
No, her kids are in school.
Oh god. Yes, because rich people don't have nannies.
They don't have babysitters. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. Oh geez. The comedy show that is this. That's this group. Anyway. So yeah, go look at the news. It's fun today. Yeah, none of the tech news was that interesting, but man, the political stuff is just a riot. But anyway, so for really quick, huge thanks to David, Carson, Austin, Diablo, and Curvy for being contributors to the channel. Huge thanks to you. It really does help keep this thing running. And for those who are listening and would like to support, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Feel free to click and throw whatever feels appropriate. It is a huge help. Yeah. Hey, look, it actually worked on mine too.
Hey, we're doing it. Wait. Yay. All right.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, see, it's not gonna. Oh, mine's got a delay. Yours seems to react faster.
I can also click it. I can just go wee.
Yeah.
No, not that one.
I don't know where the interface is to make that work. So.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, so huge thanks to everyone for coming by, hanging out, being part of the chat room. It is always good times, and we will see you in the next one, I assume, Corbin.
Yes, okay. Probably. Yeah.
At this point, I feel like I should ask, somewhat occasionally. Anyway, so hope everyone has an excellent rest of the week. I will talk to you all soon. Good night, everybody.